everybody, and welcome to the Dev Morning Show at Night. My name is Cassidy Williams, and I am here with my lovely co-host, Zach. What did you eat today?
I ate a cheese sandwich from the freezer, but it had chicken in it.
Was it frozen?
It was frozen.
Zach, do
sorry.
better. Anyway,
Okay.
Speaking of doing better, we have Moriel on the call. Moriel
Hello.
Hello. Moriel Schottlender is a principal systems architect at Wikimedia Foundation. Wikimedia or Wikipedia? What should we say?
So the foundation itself is Wikimedia, and we support all the operations of Wikipedia and 11 other projects. Not a lot of people know that, but we also have Wiktionary and WikiCommons, and I'm going to forget a whole bunch.
Whoa.
Wikidata and MetaWiki, and we have a whole bunch of other things that people are not aware of that we have. So we are the foundation, Wikimedia, but you're most familiar probably with Wikipedia, the website. So
I
Neat.
definitely
So,
had
small
never
websites
known.
mostly.
tiny.
Yeah.
Tiny, only around the fifth. I think we're somewhere in the top 5,
Oh my gosh.
depending where.
Wow.
So it's tiny. Tiny.
Amazing.
So, because it's such a small website that only covers like a fifth of the internet, you probably have to solve a lot of really big problems. What are you working on right now that interests you in particular that you'd like to talk about today?
So this is cool. So I do a couple of things. Right now, as a systems architect, we are looking at the future of Wikipedia and Wikimedia and all of these other projects that we have in terms of what does knowledge and the service of knowledge means in a world where, let's face it, reading full articles, like full pages, is less of the things that people do today online. So people do read Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is very relevant. But that's not the only thing that people do online, or that's no longer the main thing probably that people do. And then that's the question for us, like, where is technology going? And what does that mean for kind of a website that is crowdsourcing information that is valid, right? Like making sure that the information is crowdsourced and also valid, cited. And what does that mean for the new style of information? So that's mostly what I'm working on. And then there's always my passion, which is what I started with, which is localization. And then how to also make sure that we are approaching everyone equitably and allowing basically all human on Earth, right? That is our mission, to make sure that information is available and accessible to everybody on Earth, which is, tiny, small goal. But what does that mean, and how to make sure that it is actually accessible and convenient in all languages and all what it means to devices and whatever that means to the accessibility, all of that kind of stuff. Like how do we kind of approach this and look at this?
So does that mean, do you work on localization as part of your day-to-day duties at Wikipedia? I'm still so confused.
So not anymore. So right now I am doing my day-to-day work is systems architecture. But the idea about localization is that it never goes away, right? Like, we're looking at the Wikimedia now as a system, as kind of like Wikipedia and the rest, and how does it work and where are we looking at? And localization is a piece of this. And this is kind of like, once you get into localization, accessibility and stuff like that, it never goes away. So I may no longer submit code that actually touches on a localization problem, but I definitely work with localization in mind. And I think that's true for all of the movement of Wikimedia and Wikipedia. It's something that's been very, very important since the beginning. And we also have to do that, I guess. We are pioneers in terms of localization and languages.
Yeah.
We support 320 languages online right now, which is a lot higher than everybody else, including Google.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So
It's the actual whole world. It's wild.
it's not the whole world yet. We're trying to add more languages just to make a point here.
A lot of the world, more than most websites in the world.
Truly.
Yes. Fair.
Speaking of things that make the world go round, advertisements. Here is an ad from our sponsors of the show.
The Dev Morning Show at Night is a sponsored podcast. It means someone has to pay the bills around here. We're sponsored by LaunchDarkly, and LaunchDarkly is the first scalable feature management platform. That means dev teams can innovate and get better software to customers faster. How? By gradually releasing new software features and shipping code whenever they want, fast-tracking their journeys to the cloud, and building stronger relationships with business teams. Thanks for the money, Launch Darkly.
Could you talk a little bit more about what systems architecture means? Because some of us in this room totally know everything that it entails, and some of us don't.
That's me.
So could you go into a bit more detail about like what does day-to-day systems architecture look like in your work?
Yeah, so this is I think my coworker defines it really well by saying architecture is the translation of strategy into technology. So there's a lot of ways to look at how the future looks like technologically, right? So and architecture is happening in multiple layers, right? Like if you build an app, you have some sort of architecture you decide on. But our architecture is like, confined or usually kind of, relatively smaller, right? Like this thing, but you're still thinking about it. And the way to think about it is also like, what is the strategy of this app? Where is it going? What's the vision? Where am I going? And that's how you choose stuff. And then the same thing has happened when you move up and up to kind of something that contains more things in front of you. So if we talk about Wikipedia, we have now a much bigger system. And again, if we talk about Wikipedia and we talk about the 11 other projects, each project, almost each one, has 320 languages in it.
Whew.
Now you're talking about 900 websites. But those 900 websites operate with the same system underneath, right? We call it MediaWiki. It has a system underneath. But that system is still about 20 years old now, 21. It's PHP, LAMP stack. It works, don't get me wrong. But when we're thinking about the future now, right? Like, do we want to do things that support like videos and the new style of doing stuff and better kind of like, APIs that do machine learning, whatever it is that we're looking, AR, VR, whatever, right? We need to start thinking about what is the future and move towards the future. So your architecture thinking is now dealing with a lot larger system, right? So you're looking at the strategy of the system and you're looking at where you're going. And then you're looking at the component and not necessarily delving into like, is this component made up right? But what would these kind of components need? What kind of services or what kind of structure generally, or what kind of things we can do to allow for developing the type of direction we want to go with, right? So that's what we're thinking. It has to do a lot of the strategy discussions, but also experiments, right? Because there are certain questions we can't answer. Like we don't actually know what it would look like specifically to edit certain things that we want to get to. And so in order to get that, we also design these kind of, we need to answer these kind of questions. How do we do that? How do we answer that? How do we pivot? How do we go? And so it's kind of like both ways of the strategy of listening and getting the strategy and figuring it out, but also figuring out what the strategy is in all of those layers to give us an idea of where to go.
Oh my gosh, that's so many levels. It's really cool, but it goes so much deeper than honestly just most companies have to think about because there's so many levels. But at the same time, we probably should be at all of these companies thinking about it the way that you are, and it's probably changing the face of a lot of localization and patterns and scaling that companies just haven't thought about before.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that some companies also have the benefit of being able to pause development. We're going to rewrite this thing, re-architect it, do great, and then move. And some don't. Like there's no way that we are shutting off Wikipedia even for 1 second if we can help it. Right. So the question is also, how do we do that? How do we move forward and stuff like that is a very big question. And while we do that, we also know that we have new things we have to do. Like, for example, we're talking about localization. We need to make sure that we're opening ourselves a lot more to new areas and new editors that may not have been editing as much on Wikipedia and that may not have enough information or, and so how do we do that? How do we continue or start to better support more languages, better languages, more accessibility, all that kind of stuff, while also thinking about this new thing. So it's multifaceted, but it's fun. It's, a lot of really interesting challenges to think about.
And speaking of editors, what is your favorite terminal or editor to use?
Nice, Zach. A+ segue.
Yes. Well, I guess it kind of depends. I know I'm a very bad participant of the editor war. It's, I have like, it depends on what I use it for. So regularly, if I do web stuff, which is my usual thing that I do, I use VS Code. I moved to it from Sublime and then Atom and now VS Code. I find it very, very useful. Lots of really cool extensions that I use, and I just get used to it, and it's great. When I upgraded my computer, I cried a lot because I forgot what kind of extensions I had, and then I had to like dig them up again and get it exactly to the place I want it. But you know the pain.
What can you do?
But I use IntelliJ for like Java stuff because it seems to just work better for that. I do Minecraft plugins.
You don't use Eclipse? I don't understand.
I did. And then someone showed me all the cool stuff that you can do with IntelliJ. And I'm like, all right, I got convinced. So this is why I'm saying it depends. It kind of like, it depends what the tools are.
Yeah. Spoken like a true senior
And I know that
engineer.
VS Code, I know VS Code, I don't want any, like, VS Code can also do Java. I know.
I get it. And do you use like the terminal that comes with your computer, or did you get like fancy ones?
No, I use the regular terminal. I use my Ubuntu. I use just whatever terminal is in there. I do use Nano though instead
instead of Vim
I
or
know.
Emacs or something.
Yeah, I could never get used to. Nano is so simple. You just
Fair.
don't. You don't need to remember the like colon. What am I again?
Same.
So I do use Nano.
Man,
That's
I
the-
didn't expect
Nano
to be
buddies.
alone in the Vim wars here, but I'll stand strong.
As you can see, we're very
Yeah.
warlike with our choices.
Yeah, so much battling. What got you into this industry in the first place?
Well, how far do you want me to go?
Keep it interesting, and you could go as far back
Yeah.
as you want.
Yeah. I think it's a familiar kind of story for a lot of us, like, I don't know, passionate computer people. When I was very, very young, I got into computers. I was like 6. I think my first thing that I ever did was like a Lego. You guys remember Logo with the little turtle?
Yes.
So like you give it. Am I
Gosh.
dating myself here?
That's
Probably
an
dating
old
myself.
reference. I know it not
Yeah,
from my
thank you.
personal experience, but from like a Wikipedia article, I think.
When dinosaurs were roaming the earth, I used Logo. So when I was like 6 or something, we connected, Lego stuff and whatever, and we did Lego. And I remember I made like a little robot arm, and all it did was if you put like sugar, you had to put sugar in it because it wasn't that smart, and then it would dump sugar into a cup and stir, and it was for my dad. It was kind of like, that's it. And that's how I got into computers. I was like, oh, that's so cool. I can make stuff, do things. But then I kind of like, it was a hobby for the longest time. I didn't really want to work on this. I didn't understand that I could work in this and make money. I know.
Yeah.
I was always interested in kind of like that technology and stuff, but it was always kind of, I made website, I made whatever, but I worked in actual things. And I went and did like a physics degree because,
Why not?
I wanted to make money. No. I wanted to be an astronomer. I actually wanted to be in Star Trek. And when I asked,
Who doesn't?
how to get there, I went to study astronomy as if that'll get me there. But yeah, so I kind of came back to it after being a little disillusioned with academia and physics. And I was like, you know what? How about maybe my hobby? I can actually do something with it. And ta-da!
And here you are running one of the largest websites in the world.
For real.
Running
I
it.
think my bosses will have something to say about this, but sure, I'll accept. Sure,
300 plus
Take the credit.
languages.
It's fine.
I will do.
Yeah, you know 300 languages.
I can't believe you learned
Yes,
that
fluently.
many.
Yep. Still more to go, but
You're getting there.
Yeah,
You're
that's
getting
true.
there, kid. Okay, we are going to move on to our next segment, and it is the rapid fire questions. We're going to ask you a bunch of questions rapidly with fire. So here we go.
Okay.
First of all, we all have a domain name or 10 that we're squatting on. What are yours?
So I have open source.wtf. I love the
Nice.
WTF.
That's a good one.
I don't know what to do with it, but it's there. I don't know why, but I got techbro.me. I had ideas for it and then wasn't sure, so it exists and I own it. And then I bought localization.works, localization.fails, and localization.rocks. And I'm still thinking what to do with it. By the way, in both spellings is. with a Z
Oh,
and
then
with an S.
oh, you're dedicated.
Oh, wow.
So
Nice.
that's it.
Next question. What is the most recent thing you over-optimized?
So I was starting to get into Arduino. I have it here, actually. This is like the
Cool.
over-optimization now. And I totally over-optimized the code. Everything was kind of like, let me test out if this works. And then I look at it and I'm like, there's no way I'm just not like making it into a class. And then like that allows me to like, input specific, and I just over-optimized the entire thing. I only use it once. There was no reason for me to over-optimize it, but it was...
But you can.
And it was in C.
It happens.
Oh, I mean, yay, wow. Sounds rough.
Yeah, that was basically the mix of emotions I had. Which is why I switched to Circuit Python. So now that's a lot better.
There you go. There you go. What is your golden rule for coding?
So my very first lead of the team used to say, first get it to work and then make it good, which I used to follow a while and I thought it was good. But then, I don't know, after getting to more senior and seeing a lot more and working in open source kind of forces you to do that. I think document and comment as if you build it for others, whether you build it for others or not. Like always comment on everything. You will thank yourself in a year or in a week when you look at it back and don't understand what you did. And you will serve others by maybe considering making it open source.
Yeah, I love that. That's also why, like, whenever I figure something out, I write a blog post as fast as I can, because you never know when it'll be helpful for someone else or you within a month.
So that's even next level documentation.
Yeah, that's true.
I was talking about like code comments. This is even better. If you can write a blog post after every time you do something,
It's all about sharing knowledge and all that.
It's a nice organized way.
It's like master level. That's
Yeah.
What is your favorite it depends question?
well, we talked about this. What editor to use, right? Full circle.
There we go.
Yes. But I think it depends is probably the answer to a lot of things that people don't think about. So what architecture is best? Depends. What localization system should I use? It depends. How to translate a certain language? Depends. So I guess the answer to what is your favorite it depends question is it depends.
That's very meta.
That's
I love it.
the most annoying answer you can give, but it's true.
I am realistic.
I love to hear it.
So, what is the oldest piece of tech that you own?
Yeah, that's a good one. So if you'd asked me that like a year or two ago, I would have told you that I actually have an IBM XT286, which is a computer from 1986. And I had it not only working, I had it with a like a word editor in Hebrew.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, it was. And then my mom decided it's like gathering dust, which was not false, and wasn't worth anything, which probably wasn't false, and tossed it out.
No.
Oh.
So I guess it depends on your definition of own. I still own it, even if it's, in the garbage or something. I mean, no.
You don't necessarily have easy access to it if it's in the garbage.
That was not the question, though.
True.
You should frame the
True.
We
We need to work on specificity. I'm sorry.
There we go. So I don't know. What do I still own? What is there's so many ancient technologies that today are taken for granted. Maybe scissors.
Oh,
Or scissors.
that's
ancient.
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paper, parchment.
That's a way to look at it. Have you written a piece of cringy code? And could you explain more if you have?
All the time.
Nice.
I mean, this is the problem of working in open source. Not only have I written cringy code, you can see it.
And
You just look up my
everyone
name.
can.
And then you can see all of the corrections that either I or everybody else tried to make to it. But also because of that rule, right? Like, first make it work, then make it good. And because we are open source, then a lot of it is kind of like, okay, this is cringy code right now, but we're trying to make it work and whatever. And then we keep refactoring. So there's a whole bunch of, you got to be humble when you work in open source because, at least when you're closed source, your coworkers will see it, but that's it. But everybody online can see exactly what kind of cringy code I wrote.
I think it's a good like vulnerability exercise almost, because a lot of people are just like, oh, I plan on open sourcing this project after I make it perfect. And I think if you just make it open source from the get-go, you might be like, oh no, people can see it, but it kind of forces you to be just like, it's out there. I'm just going to work on it. It's done.
It's also you're gonna get people come and comment on anything even after you make it perfect
Right.
to realize that nothing is perfect. So you might as well just like toss it out there. But it does cause interesting effects. A couple of years ago I strained my shoulder and I was on some legal medicine, and I was working, and apparently my lead wrote comments on I was submitting code, and apparently my comments were very philosophical.
Oh,
And it was very, very interesting to go back and read. The code was good. The code was working. Everything was fine. But the comments were like very, got into the philosophy of why should we.
what is
It was
this
very
about?
good. So
Is this in a Git history somewhere we can peruse?
you probably can.
Perfect.
All right, we'll leave it at that.
Everything is open.
What is your favorite programming pun?
Okay, this is not fair because I'm in front of like the queen of puns here.
I know that you are capable, though. You have plenty that you have made me groan with.
How many programmers does it take to replace a light bulb? None. It's a hardware problem.
Hey.
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 Am I supposed to be happy with groaning?
Yeah, you
'Cause
should
I think
be
that's
happy.
the way it's supposed to
I
happen.
think it's good
Okay.
to feast off of the groans and be just like, this is the power that I've been given.
Excellent. So good. There were enough groaning then. That was
Perfect.
good.
And now the last question. What is your most used emoji?
I think the smirk one. The half smirk, one.
Yeah.
That one.
I don't know
Yeah,
how to do
that's
that.
Probably,
It's like a kind of side eye.
It's like this like you're looking at people knowing what you've done, but you don't know if they can name what you've done, and you're like, uh-huh.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
So that one is my main one.
I like to describe that one as there's like a line in SpongeBob where he kind of makes that face and says, "You like Krabby Patties, don't you, Squidward?"
That's such a good one. A good reference.
There we go. That's the face. That's the face.
Okay, it is time for the random segment generator. In this segment, something random happens. There's going to be a bunch of different options of what we could talk about. And the first segment is Talkin' Ship /Sip. We're going to be spilling some tea. Moriel, what's something that's underrated or overrated in the dev community, in your opinion?
Overrated. Twitter threads that are definitive, instructions, like don't use SSR anymore. It's blah, right? Or like React is better for everything. jQuery sucks. This is for you, Cassidy. As we established, it all depends. I mean, even coming from Wikipedia, we have a lot of cases we see kind of like, don't use SSR. And for us, for example, speaking of localization and accessibility, there are actually really valid reasons to make sure that your website, like Wikipedia especially, loads without JavaScript first and then hydrates, right? And that most of the features, so you can edit even if you don't have JavaScript on. So even features have to be, right? And we're discussing now how much of it, like how many of the features should and shouldn't. But we are in a situation where if you're talking about universities, for example, a lot of them have computers with still my Internet Explorer, which died this week, but still have Internet Explorer. And a lot of the JavaScript that modern stuff is written will not work on it, right? So if we want them to use the website, we got to make sure that it renders without JavaScript, which means that we might have different use cases than a lot of other places. So a lot of those threads that they have good intent, and I get it, and a lot of them make good points about stuff, but this absolutism about like, this is not good for traffic or for whatever, for not always true. A lot of the things are, you should look at the system, what your goals are and what you really want to achieve. And sadly, most times, the one thing that really drops between the cracks when those things happen is localization and support for accessibility and for languages. So they also make me groan, not a pun groan, an actual groan, like a
pained groan that's not humor oriented.
Sadness.
Yes.
It's very real, though. I agree with you completely. Because a lot of times when I see those threads, first of all, a lot of times it's marketing, where it's someone trying to
Yeah.
market their specific style of development that they want to put out there, or they're marketing themselves because they want to be a thought leader of some kind. And
Right.
no hate to the hustling that people have to do to get by, of course, but you're right. The absolutisms, it shows such a very narrow column of what can be for specific use cases.
You also tend to then, new people who come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
You tend to kind of sometimes shame them for what they chose or how they do things, right? Like, there are different choices. People have different tools available for them. Nothing is, okay, maybe there are a couple of things that you shouldn't do, but it's not, nothing is like world killing horrible in the world of programming.
Right.
And making those definitive statements also make people just feel excluded. So even in
Yes.
that aspect, you kind of
We're all trying to learn,
Agree
and
completely.
it makes it harder.
We're just trying to do our best.
Just try it.
yeah with a chicken sandwich
Yeah, straight from the freezer.
and cheese.
Yay,
My
lunch.
heart is I'm identifying.
Thank you.
Many
Thank you
times
for
it happens between
empathizing.
meetings. That's the only choice you have.
It really is right now. Okay, well, moving on to the next segment is what are you proud of? So, tell me something that you recently built, or something that you're really proud of right now.
I was thinking about this and I was like, oh, I built stuff for Wikipedia. I can kind of show you and stuff. But I gotta say, the one thing that was very recent that I actually literally shipped code for, and I'm very proud of because it came out really cool, is my personal website. So, right?
I'm saying
Came out
yeah
really
because
nicely,
I
so.
saw it before we actually recorded this. Moriel's website is sick. It's so cool.
It was such an adventure. So Moriel.tech is the website, and I made a little slider at the top that changes the way that just basically replaces CSS files. I'm gonna give you all the secrets of how I did it.
The
right?
juice.
So it's written in Vue, and it's also open source, by the way, because of course it is. So you can actually see what I did on GitHub. But it has like a little slider with years, so you can slide and change, how the website would have looked like in 96, or I think the latest one is the earliest one is 89, and then there's 1992 where it was kind of like everything took forever to load.
So good.
And then MySpace somewhere in the middle, I think in 2001 or something. And then slowly it kind of like moves across, like, when you move it. And then there's a future, kind of like how the future with a little bit of that might be a surprise.
I want to
Easter
check it out
eggs.
right now. That's such a cool
It's
idea.
the coolest. Yeah, it's so clever. I love how you put that together because it's something that a lot of people don't think of, especially in these different eras of web development. There was a time where Bootstrap was the thing you use, and that is it. And then there's times where your website was GeoCities like, where it was just kind of a lot of Times New Roman and some animations in the background, and it,
You remember Frames?
heck yes. So good.
I had problems replicating that in Vue.
Oh, I believe it.
Oh, goodness.
Oh gosh.
I had to cheat to make Vue think that I'm going backwards in time in order to get. It was definitely an adventure in learning how to program. I don't know, better, weirder,
Differently. Yeah.
What is
It reminds me, I
Frames?
mean, speaking, we touched on the fact that Internet Explorer is now dead, rest in peace. I remember way back in the day, like when Internet Explorer 7 came out and animated PNG, or not animated PNGs, just PNGs in general were available. And so like suddenly you could have transparent, like rounded corners because you could add images that had that built in. And so many interesting things just weren't available back in the day that we take for granted now.
But what's funny? I tried to do exactly what we did back then, right? I tried to use images of rounded and whatever. And it turns out that over the years, we upgraded the browser so much that certain things I had to re-implement in order to work. So it's like we did not just add on features. We the blink tag and marquee are gone now, but they were all the rage in
They were
MySpace.
so good.
I had to do tricks to get them back.
Good times. Where has the web gone? Ugh, nowhere good. Okay.
On my website, apparently.
Yeah,
There we
that's
go.
It's gone.
Take a look. All right, next segment is Launch Lightly / Crash Darkly. What is your best advice for someone just starting out in the web development world, software development world in general?
Do not listen to Twitter definitive threads. That's take them with a grain of salt. That would be advice number one. See, I keep closing circles.
So good.
this.
I know.
Closing all these loops. Love it.
So I think find a place that is safe for you while you learn. So there's a ton of places to learn, and you should go around and look for a lot of, but find a place for you to be. It could be a chat room, it could be a classroom, it could be a group of friends, it could be open source project that you actually got into and are supported by your peers. Whatever you find a place that you can kind of like mentally take a load off and talk to people and brainstorm in a safe environment while you learn, because there's a lot of stuff going on, and it could be very stressful while you learn about, like, well, the new thing is now and now and now and now, and you can't keep up, and it's really easy to drown in a lot of that, and there's a lot of opinions out there, and and not all, the entire environment is nice out there. So finding a place that gives you inspiration and gives you the safety, I think, is probably the one thing.
I think that's so true. I agree with every single thing you just said, and in particular, like the safe element, but also the brainstorming thing that you said. Being able to just brainstorm with people who high level know where you're coming from, where you can just kind of spew ideas until you hit something that you're interested in, I think is such a good thing just for your brain in general, for thinking out problems. I mean, it's why rubber ducking is such an important aspect of coding, where you can just talk out your problems. I'm looking at my duck right here to someone who will listen. And I agree, having that space is so important.
And the intent, I think, is also important, because, even especially when you work in open source, you do some of that brainstorming online. You just put something, we're thinking about blind, a lot of people come in. But a lot of people come in a lot of times with like the preservation intention of like, what are you doing? Don't move my cheese and stuff. And it's really good to have a group of people that doesn't judge you when you ask a question. They're kind of like, all right, let's go with it. Like, I don't know, let's see where it leads. Right. And it's building a lot.
Do you have any places off the top of your head that, people could go to for these kind of spaces, whether it's like a Discord server or something like that?
There is a Discord server,
Perfect.
There is. I don't know. Can I?
I feel like it's weird if I talk about it, so you can talk about
All right, I'll talk about it. Cassidy has a really wonderful Discord server called Rendezvous with Cassidy. And you can join it by supporting on Patreon or Twitch. And it is 100% lovely. There are brilliant people there. There's really great moderations. There's a lot of people. Like, oh, it grew.
Yeah, it grew because you were kind of an OG member of the Discord, and now it's like, I think it's over 100 people.
Yeah, but this is the kind of space that I actually was talking. Like, it is serving that. Like, we play games sometimes together, and Cassidy beats all of us in
Tetris.
You
crush all of us in Minecraft, though, because your Minecraft skills. She's won awards, people. She's really good at Minecraft.
Well, I started because of you. Like, you got me into it.
It's true.
Wow.
So, credit goes to, I don't know, credit or shame, whatever, because I am a little addicted.
I do feel like a proud parent that, like, it went too far. And I'm just like, oh no, I really introduced you to something serious here.
Yeah, that's basically what happened.
But you did it.
But yeah, lovely server. So something like that, but wherever you find yourself.
Yeah. I think Zach was one of the people who introduced me to Minecraft, actually. Because we first played it in college.
So wait, do we have like a chain of culpability here?
Yeah, there you go. We'll just call
pass
Zach
the
your
blame along.
Minecraft grandfather.
There you go.
All right. If you could undo one thing in your career, what would it be?
I'm gonna be like, I'm no fun at this. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say nothing, and not because there are things that I'm proud of everything. No. But I've been thinking, I had a trajectory that is not usual for programming, right? I started in physics. I actually started in electrical engineering, and then I moved to physics, and then I worked in physics for a while. it wasn't, and I was older when I got to study and started working. I was an intern, relatively a lot older than others and stuff. And I was thinking a lot about this, about kind of like what would have happened if I started a lot early, like right in the beginning, got into computers. Well, then I wouldn't have the perspective that I do have from physics that I think gives me a lot. Like a lot of the things about how to model problems, I did get from physics. And I think it shaped the way that I solve problems, right? And there's so many things that happen. I think that I take it as you learn from, everybody has a very unique perspective. And this is also true for diversity. When we talk about diversity, it's really, your experiences shaped you and shaped the way that you approach problems. And that is the benefit here. It's not just, right? And that to me is like, I wouldn't undo anything. Everything kind of impacted me for to where I am now. I will try to then adjust my course maybe, or see where I'm going from here. But it's kind of all of it, the good, the bad, it all gave me some perspective that is unique from other people.
Yeah.
I love
and
that.
I think that's probably the wisest answer you can really give too. And like, you could get into the physics of it and be just like, well, think about the different timelines that could have happened and
I know.
the butterfly
Yes.
effect and multiverses. But yeah,
there is probably a version of me in a parallel universe that, has better puns.
no way. This is the
okay,
peak.
nice.
This is the peak timeline for puns. I know it. Okay, speaking of things that are very exciting like puns, what excites you right now in the world of software development more than anything?
So I think there's a lot of conversations right now that are happening about localization and globalization, which I think is very, very good. I don't think the solutions are still there yet, but we are starting to talk about it, especially, the world is a lot more global. People are moving, people are traveling, people are not living in one place anymore. They kind of move around, and that creates a lot of implications about a lot of the assumptions we used to make about localization. Localization used to be a lot about locale, like you're connecting to the internet, and then if you're in the US, you get English, and if you're in Portugal, you get Portuguese, and that's it. Not true anymore, because you can travel and you can just live in a place. You also have places with multiple languages, right? So all of these things must change, and they're starting to now, because a lot more people are encountering those problems, as opposed to the relative minority of just the immigrants or just the whatever, right? So I think that is very exciting. I think that opens up a lot of conversations. I would like to see those conversations go more towards solutions that are equitable. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they kind of land on its edge cases or whatever that might not be. But the fact that we start talking about this a lot, and the fact that it's being flagged and people notice more, I think that's a good thing for the entire kind of world of developing software.
Yeah. And you love to see it too. The fact that there's so many more diverse perspectives now it's a good thing. And it just leads to better products and better experiences for everyone.
100%. And we see it it was never an argument really, but we used to get the argument of well, how do we know? We do. We have literally information right now.
There is
data.
Research that proves it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Is it localized research though?
Oh.
Or globalized with an S.
Me and my full circles. There we go.
All right. Now it is time for some sage advice, and then we will close up for the day. My advice for you today, everyone, is to not deal in absolutes. Kind of like what Moriel was saying with all of the Twitter threads that are going out there and the Medium articles and the opinions on the internet. It's very easy to think wow, this must be the one true way to make websites. This must be the one true way to build apps. It must be the one true way to put together some hacky hardware thing. There's no such thing as one true way with software, fortunately or unfortunately. And so if someone is saying to you, you are wrong because this is the only way to do it, chances are you might be wrong in a particular case, but not in every single case. It depends is kind of the answer for almost everything in software. So build the best you can, get educated, and that is that. Moriel, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
Yes,
It was so fun. could you tell us where can people find you on the internet and any sort of plugs that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, so I feel like I made already a plug for my website, so you can find me there, moriel.tech.
Yeah.
And you can play around with like the future and past and stuff and tell me whether you like it or not. You can find me on Twitter and practically everywhere as Mooeypoo. It's MOOEYPOO, including on Cassidy's chat server, which, come in, join us. And that's probably like Mooeypoo everywhere, and Moriel.tech has all of the places to find me, including on Wikipedia, where you can find me as Moriel Schottlender, and I'm there.
Do you edit lots of articles?
I actually not so much. I work more on the technical side, so I edit a lot of documentation.
That's something.
Like software documentation.
That counts.
And I edit some articles. I edit a little bit, but I mostly do the. I said you have to comment everything, so I do that.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
On Wiki.
Full circle.
And once again, because making podcasts is expensive, this show is brought to you by Launch Darkly. Launch Darkly toggles peaks of 20 trillion feature flags each day, and that number continues to grow, and you should use them. You can head over to launchdarkly.com and learn about how. Thank you for making this show possible, Launch Darkly. I've been Cassidy Williams. You can find me at Cassidoo, Cassidoo, on most things, and I'm CTO over at Contenda.
I'm Zach, and I'm a dev rel at Arrive, and you can find me on Twitter at ZachClada.
Thank you for tuning into the Dev Morning Show at night. Make sure you head over to our YouTube channel where you can like and subscribe. You can also listen to the audio version of this wherever you get your podcasts.